If your ambition is to be as good as South Africa in 2 years' time, you've already fallen behind. By the moment you arrive at that benchmark, the Springboks will have evolved again. That is the strategic trap that has kept so many Six Nations sides chasing shadows, measuring themselves against where Rassie Erasmus' team used to be rather than where it will be. The most forward-thinking coaches in the Northern Hemisphere understand this reality. They're not attempting to replicate South Africa's 2023 World Cup blueprint. Instead, they are constructing systems designed to confront the version of the Springboks that will take the field in 2027. Fabien Galthié in France and Steve Borthwick in England are not copying. They are projecting. They are designing for the future, not reverse engineering the past. Operating on different timelines, the fundamental difference lies in time horizons. Erasmus is not working within a standard 4-year World Cup cycle. He is operating across decades. South Africa's high-performance structure resembles a Formula One technical operation more than a traditional rugby coaching ticket. Tony Brown oversees attack innovation. Jerry Flannery and Felix Jones provide tactical intelligence. Dwayne Vermeulen functions as a mobile unit coach, transmitting real-time insights shaped by his experience as a World Cup winning number 8. Jocko Paper, a former international referee, advises on laws and discipline, effectively decoding interpretation trends before they become tactical battlegrounds. Erasmus himself is contracted through to 2031. He is planning across 2 World Cup cycles simultaneously. Contrast that with the volatility in the Northern Hemisphere. New Zealand Rugby dismissed Scott Robertson just 2 years into a 4-year deal after results dipped and dressing room authority wavered. Wales are rebuilding amid structural decline. Scotland persists with Gregor Townsend, largely because alternatives are limited. Even in England, Steve Borthwick's long-term security will ultimately depend on tournament performance. When Robertson was removed, New Zealand's instinct was telling. They attempted to recruit Tony Brown from South Africa's coaching group. Erasmus responded with humor, posting an AI-generated Wolf of Wall Street meme declaring, "I'm not leaving." Brown confirmed there was no contractual break clause. The structure remains intact. Six Nations unions often appoint coaches on World Cup-aligned contracts, then react with surprise when they cannot match a program built with 10-year continuity. The gap is not simply tactical. It is infrastructural. The nations most likely to close that gap will be those willing to support long-term projects. Back Galthié, Borthwick, and Gonzalo Quesada not merely to 2027, but beyond. Invest in support structures that outlast one tournament. Accept that parity with South Africa requires patience measured in decades, not months. Depth as architecture, not insurance. In 2024, Erasmus selected 49 players across 14 tests, retained the Rugby Championship title, and maintained South Africa's #1 ranking. That rotation was not reactive. It was structural. When Ebenetzebeth is unavailable, the system does not wobble. It absorbs and recalibrates. Depth, in this context, is not about covering injuries. It is about designing a squad ecosystem that functions independently of individuals. Galthié is pursuing similar architecture. He has rotated Gregory Aldred out of the side and integrated Lenny Nucci alongside Oscar Jago and Paul Bowden without compromising breakdown ferocity. Michael Gillett shifts between lock and number 8 roles. Matthew Jalibert alternates at fly half, as required. Theo Adesogb adds width and finishing threat without destabilizing structure. England's evolution under Borthwick follows the same principle. Guy Pepper emerges as a genuine back row option. Ben Spencer and Alex Mitchell contest the scrum half role. Finn Smith and Marcus Smith provide alternative attacking lenses to George Ford at fly half. Ollie Lawrence and Fraser Dingwall offer depth at inside center. When Tom Curry was sidelined, England's breakdown efficiency did not collapse because Ben Earl and Sam Underhill sustained standard. Compare that with Ireland post-Johnny Sexton. When their talismanic fly half departed, attacking diversity narrowed. That illustrates the distinction between depth as system design and depth as dependency management. The Springboks have mastered the former. France and England are attempting to follow. Empowerment over compliance. Erasmus' influence extends beyond tactics. He has shaped a cultural model rooted in empowerment, transparency, and innovation. His recognition as Daily Mavericks Person of the Year reflected not just trophies, but philosophy. Players buy into a structure that values them holistically. Success is not defined solely by results. It is sustained by trust. The Springboks frequently win matches between the 52nd and 68th minutes, when psychological resilience converges with physical freshness. That is not coincidence. It is cultural conditioning. Northern Hemisphere coaches are learning this lesson. Gonzalo Casada at Italy is building around cultural anchors, such as Michel Lamoureux and Nacho Brex. He blends Nordic discipline with Latin emotional intensity, crafting an Italian identity that feels authentic rather than borrowed. He asks players what drives them, not merely how they execute drills. Galthié operates similarly. France's environment is one of collective ownership. Clarity of purpose aligns with expressive flair. Borthwick's England, often stereotyped as pragmatic, have developed trust through role definition. Players understand their responsibilities within the system. Ben Earl's relentless support lines, Tommy Freeman's seam-straightening carries, and George Ford's flat distribution are executed under pressure because belief in the structure is unshakable. Culture, not just choreography, sustains systems. France's tactical projection. Le Principe Tricolore. France's current attacking framework reveals the clearest evidence of projection thinking. The pitch is conceptually divided into 3 vertical corridors: rouge, blanc, and blue. For the initial 3 to 4 phases after regaining possession, France attack almost exclusively within the central white channel. Inside passes dominate. Forward strike tight lanes. Support runners position themselves on interior seams. Against Ireland and Paris, whose defensive system had suffocated opponents for 2 seasons, France engineered compression. Jalabert repeatedly brought Nicolas Deporter and Gillard onto direct lines. On 11 occasions, straight carriers dented the Irish midfield. Louis Bielbaire's tries emerged not from early width but from delayed expansion. Once defenders have been dragged inward. Why persist centrally? Because Galthié is building for South Africa's next iteration of rush defense. By 2027, the Springboks' edge defense will likely be even more suffocating. Directly attacking wide channels against that system risks attrition. Instead, France aimed to force central commitment. 3 to 4 phases of disciplined interior play compress the rush. Once defenders collapse inward, width becomes lethal. Compression before exploitation. It is a system designed not for South Africa 2023, but South Africa 2027. That is projection rugby. England's numerical wave. Borthwick's attacking model differs structurally, but reflects similar ambition. That England's wave revolves around 3 pillars. Tommy Freeman straightens seams from the 13 channel, running square-hipped lines that halt lateral drift. Ben Earl wraps behind forward pods, reappearing as an unexpected +1 in support. George Ford stands flat, distributing at the last possible pulse. Against Wales at Allianz Stadium, the 48-7 victory showcased its potency. Freeman fixed defenders and generated soft shoulders. Earl's constant recycling created numerical puzzles. Ford's bravery at the gain line unlocked momentum. The system seeks to exhaust defenses through relentless cycling. Overloads emerge not from static superiority, but from repetition and speed. Yet here lies the looming question. Can that wave survive the bomb squad? South Africa's bench reinforcements typically arrive between the 50th and 65th minutes, precisely when England's strategy depends on fatigue setting in. Fresh forwards neutralize exhaustion. You cannot outlast players engineered to arrive fresh. Freeman straightening seams is effective, until Etzebeth steps on at minute 65 with untouched legs. Ford distributing flat is courageous, until an evolved rush defense anticipates the pulse and closes the window that England's model will overwhelm most international opponents. Whether it can break a system constructed specifically to absorb relentless cycling remains uncertain.